DocTalk is brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, Sure Trace Mineral Supplementation by Timed Injection.
Hi there folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm excited to have you join me today. We're going to talk about how vaccines work. And here at the College of Veterinary Medicine and out in the field in many different areas of life, vaccines are utilized for humans, for animals, for small animals, for cattle, for pigs, and all kinds. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here from the College of Veterinary Medicine. You're watching DocTalk. Hope you enjoy the show.
We're cow-calf producers from Northeast Colorado. We run about 300 commercial cows and calves and sell them at the sale barn in October.
Since we've been given Multimin, our reproduction rate is about 95%, which is pretty good for grassland, and we run bulls and we do not AI.
That means an extra 15 calves at sale time. We've been using the Multimin product for 3 years. We are really happy with it and recommend it to anybody in this business.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value. This segment is brought to you by Rotomix, manufactured in the USA and designed for feeding performance in the feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations.
Hi there folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, where I serve as the Jones Professor of Production Medicine and Epidemiology. And usually I have a guest on the show, but today you're stuck with me. We're going to talk about vaccines and something that I think is very common. We take our dogs in to be vaccinated, take our cats in to be vaccinated, cows, pigs, humans. All of us utilize vaccines as preventative medicine to prevent disease from occurring or to protect our body when we're exposed. There are two reasons why animals get sick. Either an overwhelming dose of a pathogen or antigen or a suppressed immune system. When the immune system is working adequately, we have the ability to neutralize antigens. What's an antigen? Well, an antigen could be a virus, could be a bacteria, it could be something that is not part of yourself. The immune system is pretty unique in the fact that the immune system goes through and it takes inventory of all of your body's cells through DNA and through recognition. And so when it's taking inventory and it goes through the body and it says, hair, that's me, cells, that's me, heart cells, eye, that's me, and all of a sudden it says, oop, there's an IBR virus, infectious bovine rhinotracheatis. That's not me. That is called an antigen. An antigen is something that stimulates an immune response. When the antigen is recognized as not being part of the self in that animal, the animal then produces antibodies, and the antibodies neutralize the bacteria or the virus or the thing that's not self. So anything that comes into the body. And so the antigen-antibody complex is very important in neutralizing. When the immune system is suppressed and the antigen is present, but due to stress or due to something that's run down, when your mom said get out of the rain, or things that elicit stress responses in cattle, the animal can't produce the antibodies or can't produce the immune response that then subsequently neutralizes that non-self, that antigen, or that bacteria or virus that'll cause disease. Very important basic fundamentals to biology, very important fundamentals to survival of species and adaptation to surroundings and disease is the immune system. We're going to jump into talking about different types of immune responses, and there are basically two types of immune responses that vaccines can create. The first one being the humoral immune response, and the second one being the cell-mediated immune response. The humoral immune response is one that is very specific. It is that antigen is presented, it produces an antibody, and that antibody is only specific for the antigen that's being presented. And I'll illustrate this better. If we have an IBR virus infect an animal, the antibodies produced are not only specific for for IBR virus, but it can also be specific for a strain of IBR virus and sometimes not be protective against all IBR virus. So it's a very specific immune response. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue this discussion on vaccines, cell-mediated immune response, humoral immune response, and then how that works in modified live or killed vaccines. Thanks for watching Doc Talk, and we'll be back in a minute.
This segment was brought to you by Brute Cattle Equipment, makers of the Brute Stealth Hydraulic Chute. If the chute fits, swear by it. Visit our website for more information.
Got cattle? Rotomix manufactures a complete line of energy-efficient rotary and vertical feed mixers for feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Our mixers are available with the patented Generation 2 staggered rotor, the industry standard for feeding wet rations that include wet distiller's grain. Made in the USA, Rotomix mixers are designed for feeding performance that American cattlemen and dairy producers have come to expect. Rotomix, proud to offer a better mix in less time using less fuel.
Working your cattle just got easier. Introducing the new VetGun delivery system, a new way to apply topical insecticides to your cattle. The VetGun lets you remotely treat cattle with effective parasite control, so you can do it from an ATV, on horseback, or just walking among the herd. It's that simple. The proven topical insecticide AML VetCap is used with the VetGun. It works fast to control horn flies and lice while minimizing stress on your cattle. Fast, easy, effective. VetGun. Check with your animal health supplier for availability.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
Hello friends, I'm Ernie Rodina.
And I'm Dawn Dawson with the Better Horses Radio Show.
For over 9 years, we've been bringing the Better Horses Radio Show to markets all across the Midwest. We talk about God, lots about horses.
We talk about cows, we talk about horse health, we talk to top trainers, and we even talk about Roy Rogers.
We're having a blast with Better Horses Radio Show and would love to take it to a market near you.
So visit our website at betterhorsesradio.com and let us or your local radio station know you'd like to hear it in your area.
The Better Horses Radio Show is unbelievable.
Beef producers need a practical choice when antibiotic therapy is required. More than ever, they are reaching for non-prescription Noromycin 300LA from Norbrook. Specially formulated to produce sustained antibiotic blood levels up to 4 days in cattle, Noromycin 300LA delivers economic, broad-spectrum disease management for pneumonia, shipping fever, pink eye, wound infections, and foot rot. See for yourself why Norbrook's Noromycin 300LA is the practical choice for your herd. This segment is brought to you by Norbrook Laboratories, manufacturers of Enroflox 100, the newest addition to your arsenal for treating bovine and swine respiratory disease.
Hey there folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here from the College of Veterinary Medicine, and I'm tickled to death that you joined the show today because we're going to talk about something that is very common to all of us. We get vaccines ourselves, we give our dogs, our cats vaccines, and vaccinations are staples for preventative medicine in beef operations, equine, and swine operations. So first we're going to talk about the different types of immune responses. And as we left going into break, we were talking about the humoral immune response. And that humoral immune response, if I vaccinate for BVD, I'm going to get production of an antibody for BVD. And that is the antibody complex, antibody neutralizing that virus. The antibody-antigen complex is humoral immunity. Now, cell-mediated immune response is a non-specific immune response. Cell-mediated immune response, if there's something within the body, whether it's a virus or bacteria, and it creates a cell-mediated immune response, that response tries to attack and neutralize non-specifically everything that is not self within the body. So, as the immune system takes inventory, hair cells, those are me, heart, eye, that's me. All of a sudden there's a virus that's live that kicks up the cell-mediated immune response. Whether that virus or a different bacteria are present, we're going to have a non-specific immune response against anything in the body that's not self. So we have a humoral immune response that is what we vaccinate for. We put an antigen in the body, the animal produces the antibody specifically for IBR virus. Cell-mediated, we have a non-specific response to that virus being present, and the immune response of the cell-mediated then attacks all non-self types of proteins, viruses, bacteria within the body. So what does that have to do with the different vaccines we use? Well, we do have two different types. We have modified live vaccines, and we have killed vaccines. And the modified live vaccines are vaccines that are live viruses or live bacteria that have been attenuated. And attenuation means that we're going to take these vaccines and we're going to take away the part that makes those vaccines virulent or makes those vaccines infectious in the animal. We're going to give a small dose of the virus. The virus cannot cause the infection even though it's live, and since it's live, it will stimulate a natural immune response just like the animal was being exposed to the virus out in nature. Modified live vaccines stimulate both a humoral immune response for the antigen that we're vaccinating against and also a cell-mediated immune response that is nonspecific against all different types of things. We're going to head to the break, and as we come back from the break, we'll come back and we'll discuss what a killed vaccine stimulates relative to a modified live vaccine, and then we'll start to go into what exactly are in the different vaccines that you buy on a day-to-day basis. Thanks for watching Doc Talk, and we'll be back right after the break.
This Meet the Veterinarian is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals. Dr. Gordon Hazard from West Point, Mississippi is a legend in the cattle business. A veterinarian for 64 years and a cattleman for 79, Dr. Hazard received the Mississippi Cattleman of the Year Award in 1990 and was inducted into the Mississippi Cattlemen's Hall of Fame in 2012. Also known as the Guru of Grass, Dr. Hazard has authored a widely acclaimed book, Thoughts and Advice from an Old Cattleman.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America. A place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
This hog is head over hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
TrueTest Group, weighing systems, electronic identification, EID, electric fencing, and dairy automation systems help farmers and ranchers around the world manage the performance of their livestock for ultimate profitability.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, where I serve as the Jones Professor of Production Medicine and Epidemiology. And we're going to talk more in depth about vaccines. And as we left for the break, we were talking about modified live vaccines. And modified live vaccines enlist both a humoral immune response and a cell-mediated immune response. Sometimes we use killed vaccines. And what a killed vaccine is we grow up the virus, we grow up the bacteria, and then we kill them. And these killed vaccines still have the proteins present to stimulate that humoral immune response. So the protein is vaccinated or injected into the animal of the killed virus or the killed bacteria, and it stimulates the antibody-antigen complex, which is the humoral immune response. So we get that from a killed vaccine. However, since that vaccine is not live, it does not stimulate that cell-mediated or that non-specific immune response. So the difference between a killed and a modified live is the modified live stimulates the antibody-antigen complex, the humoral immune response, and cell-mediated, and the killed vaccine only stimulates the humoral immune response or the antibody-antigen complex. When we use modified live, sometimes we don't have to revaccinate because that virus is replicating and it stimulates added immune response. You need to follow the label directions and work with your veterinarian at all times on these vaccines. However, when we do use the killed vaccines, it's almost always that we have to give a second vaccination or a booster response. So how do vaccines work? We're going to take one of these vaccines, take a killed vaccine or a modified live vaccine. We are actually going to take the virus or the bacteria that is non-infectious or non-virulent, and we're going to inject a small dose of that into the animal or into the person. That's the reason why they say when you use a vaccine or if you go get vaccinated, make sure that you're healthy because you want the immune system up and functioning. The immune system then is going to stimulate the antibody-antigen reaction. These are not immediate. So if I vaccinate today, you can expect a lag time for the body to kick in the immune system to stimulate the antibody production of a minimum of 5 days, and usually it takes up to a week. And a lot of times when we give the first dose of a vaccination, it's a smaller antibody response to the vaccine than it is after we give a booster vaccine. As we discuss vaccines in more detail, it is important to understand that if you're going to give a booster vaccine, that vaccine should be given 14 to 21 days past the first vaccine to allow the body the time to produce what we call memory antibody or memory cells that will remember that when that antigen is presented a second time, we're going to have a whole flood and army of antibodies to go neutralize it. When we come back from the break, we're going to wrap up our discussion on vaccines. It's been an interesting topic for me to share with you, and I'll see you here right after the break.
In a feedlot situation, we use multi-min on arrival basis. Maybe if they came in a little lighter weight, 550, 600 pounds. We use multi-min in high-stress cattle, high-risk cattle. We're looking for a better response to our vaccine. For some of the cattle that we're looking for when we use multi-min, they come in, maybe they look a little mineral deficient. They come from parts of the country that are lower in certain mineral. So we use it on those cattle. Tends to make a big difference.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ochsner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman and Colorado Rancher. Join me each week as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association brings you the latest updates in industry information and market news. Plus, each week we provide important educational information and features on cattlemen from across the country just like you. And we can't forget our favorite cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Join me for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, debuting Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern, right here on RFD TV.
Beef producers asked for it, and Norbrook delivers. Introducing new Enroflox 100, the newest addition to your arsenal for treating bovine respiratory disease. Enroflox 100 is an FDA-approved, ready-to-use injectable antimicrobial solution to treat BRD associated with Mannheimia hemolytica, Pasteurella multocida, and Histophilus somni in beef and non-lactating dairy cattle. Administered SQ as a multiple-day therapy. Consult with your veterinarian today about Enroflox 100, the new choice. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Doc Talk, and joining me today in a discussion about vaccines, which is something that, again, there's a cornerstone to our preventative medicine programs, and we want you to work with your local practitioner to develop a vaccine program that fits your herd. We left talking about booster vaccines, and I want to kind of clear that up. One thing that I think is a misnomer or things that people don't understand is that when I vaccinate an animal, I don't get immediate coverage. I may get a cell-mediated immune response pretty quick with a modified live, but the humoral immune response, that antibody production to neutralize, takes 4 to 5 days at a minimum and usually 1 to 2 weeks. as we develop the first vaccination and first exposure to that pathogen or to that antigen, we get buildup of memory antibody or B cells. And then the second time that the animal is exposed, whether it's through vaccination or through natural exposure to disease, we get a much larger antibody response out there at 21 to 28 days after a second vaccination. Now, vaccination and immunization are two different things. Just because you give an animal a vaccine doesn't mean you get an immune response. And some of the things that you need to do to make sure that your vaccine is working comes right there at the shoot site. And things such as modified live vaccines are very sensitive to UV light. UV light from the sun can denature and kill a modified live vaccine. So you want to make sure that you keep your vaccines in a cooler or someplace that's dark. Next thing is exposure to temperature, whether it's heat stress or cold stress. If you expose modified live vaccines and let them get too warm or too hot, or exposed to freezing temperatures, that can turn your modified live vaccine into a modified dead vaccine, which is not a good place and not what you paid for to be able to inject into your animal or to do these. The other thing is you need to make sure that the calves have a functional immune system. You want to put these products into healthy cattle so that they have the immune system, and then before they're exposed to disease, that the vaccine is producing the immune response that you want. And the last one is proper administration. We have a designated vaccine zone within the animal on the neck of the animal. Now you need to first look and see, is this a subcutaneous injection or an intramuscular injection? And it'll say it right on the label, or your veterinarian will help explain to this. But if it's a subcutaneous injection, sub-Q, you're going to put that vaccine, deposit that vaccine between the sub-Q, or the deposit between the skin and the muscle or the fascia of the muscle of that animal. And if you're going to do it on an intermuscular, it'll be a perpendicular vaccination right into the muscle of that animal. I hope you enjoyed our discussion today on vaccines, and we're going to have more of these types of discussions on Doc Talk. Thanks for joining us. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian. If you want to know what we do here on Doc Talk, you can find us on the web at DocTalkTV.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, here from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University. You've been watching Doc Talk today. I'm sure glad you joined us, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com. Doc Talk was brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, sure trace mineral supplementation by timed injection.
My name's Tim Todd. Along with my wife Chris, we own and operate Green Mountain Angus Ranch out of Rygate, Montana. We've been in the Angus business for about 30 years now. We sell about 300, 350 bulls a year. We have a production sale in the fall, the third Friday in November, and we have a private treaty sale in the spring. We've been using the Multimin product for about 7 years now. We started using it off the recommendation of our embryologist. He suggested that we give our recip cows a shot prior to putting embryos in. We had a real good conception rate that spring, and we've been using the product ever since. This area of Montana can be a little deficient in copper. That's one of the three main minerals in Multimin, and so that we brought our copper levels in our cattle up to where they need to be. We've seen an increase of 5 to 6% in our conception rate in our AI program. You start getting 30 to 40 more AI calves in a year. We're showing a huge return by using the product in those regards. We give our cows a shot of Multimin pre-calving for the immune system of the unborn calf. She will transfer the minerals into the unborn calf through the blood system. When the calf is born, he has a high level of mineral in his liver, which will help with his immune system. In our particular operation, we lease a lot of pasture, so it's real important for these cattle to stay healthy. We don't get the opportunity to check them like we'd like to. The least sickness, the least foot rot we have, the better off we are. So with the use of Multimin, that's two of the big benefits we've seen: healthier cattle, less maintenance.